If proving the establishment wrong that not much really changes in a year when it comes to tech was a person, then the Galaxy Z Flip 5 would indeed fit the bill. After spending a good 2+ weeks with the Z Flip 5, I can definitely say I was wrong, and the flip side is way more tempting than ever before. Hi, Ben from SamMobile. If you enjoy new and exclusive videos like this, then be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos on YouTube with SamMobile TV. Here is our comprehensive review on the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5. My thoughts and opinion from our initial hands-on on the Flip 5 in regard to the design and build quality still stay true to the core and feels even more elevated with the time I've spent with it. Samsung addressing my biggest complaint with the gap when closed is now gone thanks to the zero gap hinge, which has the knock-on effect of preventing dust and small particles from getting inside and also making the phone feel more compact when closed. An overall slimmer phone and weirdly enough a lighter feeling device even at the same weight as the Flip 4 without compromising the structural integrity and most importantly keeping an IPX8 rating. Now, unless you're buying the exclusive online edition colors of the Flip 5, Samsung has moved away from the matte finish of the back panel of the Flip 4 to a glossy finish. The hinge feels strong, holding into positions well, and feels even more satisfying to shut, close, and open, backed with the biggest change and improvement to the outer look of the phone with the flex window. This is the biggest and best improvement to the Flip series yet. The outer cover display, aka the flex window, may not be technically the best out of the two displays, but it is indeed the absolute star and main attraction as to why the Flip 5 feels like a true upgrade from before. The folder-shaped 3.4-inch Super AMOLED display is functional, fun, and adds a level of access and personality to the Flip that really needed it to take the experience to the next level. Yes, on a technical level, the 60Hz and 306 ppi panel isn't a match to run home about compared to the 120Hz and 400 ppi plus display found on something like the Moto Razr, but in practice it works great, especially when it comes to the high brightness 1600 plus nits mode. The visibility backed with the improved usability is second to none on the Flip 5. What surprised me the most was actually the inner display. Yes, it's still on paper the same 6.7-inch 22:9 dynamic AMOLED 2X display with a 120Hz LTPO panel and visibly the same crease as before, which I wish was improved. What really did improve was the max brightness, which pushes above 1700 nits. I almost feel Samsung didn't give this enough credit and highlight like on the Fold 5 because improvements like this are such a difference maker to daily usage. We just hope that next time there is a greater focus on minimizing the inner crease, but overall the display experience is excellent. Now back to the flex window. The folder shape initially made no sense to me, but then I realized not only does this add a unique look to the device, but also when, for example, using a music player, it adds a nice mini player animation with a waveform to the bottom left, which adds a nice visual look. We will touch more on the flex window in the software section of the review, but overall, Samsung did a standout job here. At the heart of the specs and the performance of the Flip 5 is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 mobile platform built for Galaxy, backed with 8GB of LPDDR5X RAM and 256GB of UFS 4.0 storage. Gone is the base 128GB storage option, and there I say the overall performance, even when pushing it in gaming, has been a real treat of an experience. The real question with the Flip 5 considering the price point is why it still doesn't have DeX. Now the performance is absolutely there to handle it, and with the improvements to thermal management, this should make it a no-brainer to include it on the Flip 5, but based on our findings, it still doesn't meet Samsung's requirements, mainly when it comes to thermals, as in some cases, even when gaming for long sessions, for example, the device can still heat up. Of course, without a statement from Samsung, we don't really know the absolute reason why it's not here, but away from that, the performance improvements, thermal improvements, and efficiency gains on the Flip 5 are greatly welcome and definitely shows Samsung this time around are not skipping a beat on their flagship phones. The experience with the camera is an interesting one, as it does feel improved and more usable, especially considering how the larger flex window really takes the power of self-shooting to the next level. But there are still quirks and missing features that haven't really improved from before. What am I referring to? Well, first is the ultra-wide lens, which is still limited to 4K 30 frames per second recording and still not able to record in 4K 60. You would think with the addition of the new ISP and chipset, we can see an improvement to the video portrait mode in 4K, but it's still limited to 1080p like before. When shooting in 4K 60 on the main wide sensor, the option to enable the cover display for viewing is grayed out, meaning you can only do this up to 4K 30. When shooting using the outer cover display, you have to make sure you're in the correct aspect ratio to match the shooting of when you're in vertically or horizontally, or else you might just be limited to no more than 1080p video. For all the additional shooting modes available, you're still limited to portrait video and also photos on the cover display. Considering the fact that Samsung still hasn't added a dedicated telephoto zoom lens on the Flip 5, these limitations and quirks may make you feel like the Flip at times isn't really aimed at enthusiasts, even though the price point says otherwise. One thing I do appreciate is that the super steady feature now records in QHD 1440p, up from 1080p. The general video stabilization sees a good improvement, and the image processing is slightly improved overall for pictures as well. It's just to say that if you're expecting a super boost in the camera experience to match, say, what's on the S23 or S23 Plus, this is still not really the case when it comes to the Flip 5. What you have to take into consideration when using a camera on the Flip 5 is the experience of it all, from the ability to use the rear cameras with the larger flex window as a selfie, the flex mode with the ability to use the phone as a self tripod for self-shooting, the auto tracking feature for video, and the overall general fun that comes with using a Flip camera. This is something not even the Fold offers in its entirety, and makes the experience of using the Flip 5 way more fun and enjoyable, at times beyond just the absolute powerhouse of a camera system on a hardware level. Using the software is like a flip of a coin, with both the cover display and the in display to consider. To get the best out of using the cover display, you do have to install Good Lock from the Galaxy Store and activate the launcher function using the multi-star extension, which allows you to then add basically any and all apps to use on a cover display, compared to the standard apps supported like YouTube, Maps, and Netflix. This is something that doesn't take long to do and works very well, considering the size of the display, with games like Asphalt 9 being very playable. I do wish that this is something Samsung enabled at least in their lab section, so that normal Flip 5 users have an easier time experiencing the full experience of the flex window. That being said, having access to notifications, the different cover options, larger and more additional widgets, and the always on display makes the larger flex window such a fun experience that makes the Flip 4's outer display look more than just a single generation behind when it comes to form and function. What's also interesting about the folded shape of the outer cover display is it holds the home and the back keys from using apps on the cover display. This works as a great advantage by allowing the usable display size for apps to be bigger, less interrupted, and more functional, but allowing the need for gestures to be controlled from the extended bottom left corner of the display. A genius move from Samsung, and as mentioned before, when using a music player, the animated mini player that appears is a nice visual touch. It will also be interesting to see how far Samsung takes it with Android 14 using One UI 6.0, but for now, One UI 5.1.1 makes a good impression on the software experience. Battery life on the Z Flip 5 evens out to be near enough the same as before, if not in some cases slightly better. Even with the efficiency improvements from the chipset and software, the brighter display and performance increase on top of using the same 3700 mAh battery size could be the main reason for this being the case. The idle battery drain is lower than before, which helps in light use situations. One area I would have personally loved to see improved is the charging speeds, as the 25-watt rated charger only really pushes to 18 watts on the Flip 5, resulting in a full charge in about 1 hour 30 minutes. Let's hope in the future we see at least a 4000 mAh battery with support for 45-watt charging like we see on the S23 Ultra and S23 Plus. quirks aside, and the usual request for wanting things to be better and cheaper to make foldables more accessible to the masses, what Samsung have done here with the Flip 5 is nothing short of amazing. And although I'm still more of a Fold user, this is the first time I can truly say a Galaxy Flip has brought a smile to my face, made me a believer, and most importantly, made me recommend joining the Flip side more than ever before. If you've been waiting for a flip phone that finally makes sense, then the Flip 5 is finally the one to get. What's your thoughts on the Galaxy Flip 5? Let us know in the comment section below. For the latest news in the world of Samsung Daily, be sure to visit us at SamMobile.com. And for the latest videos on SamMobile TV, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, and we will see you next time.